1.2
All right, in just a
trillion.
second, we're going to bring Asher in, and he is the FC for the Imperium. Let me bring him in now. All right, this is Asher Elias. How you doing, Asher?
Yes. It's not. I just like make fun.
Yeah, I wish I make sure it's Asher. How you doing, Asher?
It's me.
Okay, good. I recognize that voice. You are leader of the Navy for the Imperium that is winning the day. The day's not over. How's it going?
You can see the results. I don't. Sorry, I haven't been able to listen to your show, so I don't know what you guys have been talking about. I don't know if I'm gonna be saying the same things you've been saying, but
It's okay.
we. I mean, we're mopping up Titans. We don't know exactly how many are actually real. There's a lot of ghost Titans out here, but
Right.
I've been telling people that maybe 50% of them are going to be real, and that's probably. I think we'll get more than that, but I'm just trying to manage expectations on what has actually died and what will reappear. I've heard, I don't know how accurate this is, but I've heard that some of the Titans that have gone back to T5ZI after they've blown up have still blown up. Um, like they've spawned back in T5ZI after we've killed them and then blew up in T5ZI.
Oh
So
wow.
I don't know.
It's gonna be weird, right? They're gonna be two separate
Yeah,
counts on what actually was killed in this fight. There's the stuff that was targeted and blew up. There's the wreckages that were there. There's the stuff that became a ghost and came back to life, and stuff that
yeah.
became a ghost and didn't come back to life.
I imagine we'll never know the same number. I'm sorry, the actual accurate number. It's always going to be sort of shrouded in mystery. But I see Elise is on here. Elise, does this do you have Omega Fleet vibes right now?
I like so I go back even further. We were talking with Bo too. 11 years ago to the day is when Peelin jumped in our Titan fleet into Y-2, black screened and died. We lost 4 of our 6 Titans that we owned.
Oh, that's a
But yeah, this feels a lot like Head GP for sure.
yeah. It's like Omega Fleet except with Titans instead of Dreads. Although the Titans are probably roughly equal to what the Dreads were worth back then, or you know what I'm saying. It's not that the value is slightly changed.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's that
That's
that
not that,
close, but
but it wasn't Omega Fleet 700 Dreads. So I guess
yeah.
although one you could say one thing for Pappy is BTEC R happened like a week after that. So
Mhm.
fortunes can change. Um, but yeah, it's been. I mean, it's satisfying to kill all these enemy titans, but from just a personal perspective, I feel like victory was taken from me, so I'm disappointed,
Mhm.
and I've been messaging some of the Pappy people that I'm friendly with, just giving them commiserations because I have just been recently on the other side of this phenomena,
Mhm.
and it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling at all. So I've just been saying, hey, commiserations. I've been there recently, and sorry about it. And that's all you can say. But from my perspective, I felt very strongly we were going to win. The morale in Greenstorm was just all time high before this fight. Um, and we elected to go in first, which is actually a huge disadvantage. You saw what happened. Like they went out of range of all our Titans, which is
Mhm.
there's a scene.
Explain
Yeah, there's the
explain that just a little bit though. The person that goes in first doesn't get to dictate the range, something like that,
right,
right?
right. So they put all their Titans 280 kilometers off the top of the Keepstar while we were at the bottom. And and I mean, it was, to me, that's just that's foolishness. You have to come in, you have to get here at a reasonable time. And there's a scene from The Wire where the security guard is talking to one of the drug kingpins, and the drug kingpin says, "You want it one way, but it's the other." And I realized, yeah, it's really nice to be able to pick your range, but the hubris of that decision is just incredible. I feel bad for the Pappy line members who are losing their Titans, but the leadership, I mean,
Alright. No
I mean, that,
psychological warfare here, Asher. He's
I'm not
saying,
psychologically
look,
warfaring.
guys,
I'm
don't
saying
follow your FCs."
no. I mean, it's not. Well, I mean, if it's true, is that correct? If it's accurate, is that right? Like,
Oh, I don't know.
well, I mean,
In,
that's
in hindsight, right? In hindsight,
Say it the way you see it, I
the
guess.
the In hindsight, it feels that the wrong decision was made. Right? They should have gotten there earlier. Right?
I mean, certainly in hindsight, but I think that like that these guys have enough experience that they should know that in foresight as well. Like there's a reason we got there early and we spent 3 hours loading the grid. We came in, we spent 3 hours jumping our supers in because um, that
Yeah.
that's going to happen
Well,
on the sides of a fight. That's the other thing. I mean, like, but to give an olive branch, I don't know olive branch, whatever.
yeah.
Um, to you don't know like when is the server going to be able to hold 5,000 more people ever possible. So
Yeah.
that is what I'll say is that I don't know how you resolve this. I think you just have to start fighting early. And I think that's probably the only way.
Well, I think you're right. Go ahead, Elise.
Oh, I was just gonna give Asher credit for the Wire reference. That's a
Yeah,
good one,
totally.
and that's actually the perfect quote too.
Yeah, yeah. I think Billy's answer to that early on was because, of course, this is one of the thinkings. Like, why would you come into this situation? Was that the server performance was pretty good last time, and actually, two of the three fleets that got into this place got in without a problem.
Yeah.
It just jammed up, not unexpectedly, but beyond a point of salvation. Like,
I imagine that as an FC, you're saying, well, we're gonna have some people load in black screen, and we're gonna have some people load in, but we'll probably load. I'm sure that's what the thinking was, is that we'll come on the far side, that will be out of position, um, and we'll lose some ships, but eventually we'll load. But from and like I get that line of thinking. Just from my perspective, it's just disappointing. Like I wish we could have had the fight. I feel like we were there was certainly like on our side, like we were having to tamp down confidence. Like guys, we haven't won this fight already. Like it was there was really like a large amount of people who were just almost elated before the fight even happened, and we were
mhm.
having to say, "Whoa, breathe, breathe," we had to still do all the things. So we were
Yeah.
really looking forward to it, and I guess that's the biggest disappointment is that a potential game defining fight didn't happen, but it was so close to one that was already the sort of the biggest fight that's ever happened in this game.
Just to be clear, I didn't message
Yeah.
Asher and tell him to say all this. Like, this is what
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
predicted the Imperium would feel like from the FC perspective. So
Am
I'm
I like
glad to hear it.
am I hitting all the talking points?
You just
Oh,
nailed it.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally,
Absolutely
Yeah,
totally.
nailed it.
yeah, I mean, they're talking points for a reason, right? Like, they're like there are things that and there's sort of the wisdom of playing for a long time, and you push the limits of what you think, and you go maybe 5% beyond that, and sometimes it doesn't work. Um, I think the like perspective of our line member right now is like there's a lot of dislike for Pappy, and certainly for certain groups inside of it even more so. And so um, there's sort of like some gleeful chainsawing noises going on down there right now. But yeah, when there's a different perspective at the FC level, and also, and I think at the line member level, where at the FC level you want to test yourself, and you want all that, and that's been taken away. So that's pretty much my take on this. And
Okay.
what's going to be really interesting, like, and I'm sure that you pundits will go on and talk about, is what happens next. What's the
Yeah.
chain reaction off this? And I have my opinions on that, but I think you'd probably shush me if I said
No,
it.
no, no. Give
Yeah,
us
what
your
happens
opinions on
next?
that.
Tell
Yeah.
us. I want to
Tell it.
know.
I mean, I think the momentum on this war has been slowing down quite a bit. December was, uh, you know, um, really, really slow, and I have a personal belief, and I don't think wars are sustainable in Eve for more than 6 months. Everyone's paying to play this game, and they're it's not like no one has been drafted in any army, so I think that they have a natural time span, and we're kind of coming to the end of it. So I think that like that Pappy probably will have to get a really big victory really soon, and energize their guys that way. Because these you can see the pace of this war, you can see the slowing down, and you can see how um, the kind of fights that 3 or 4 months ago would be just giant pappy stomps were becoming even, and then they were becoming like isk losses, but still strategic victories, and then there were some strategic losses and isk losses, and that kind of momentum doesn't get turned around without usually without some sort of change, and this is not that kind of change. So I think that in the next 2 weeks, if this isn't like a morale collapse at the start, I think in like the next 2 weeks that will be they will have to do something pretty incredible, or attempt it, and I think that we'll do our best to keep that from happening. I think that we uh, you know all war in Eve is personal, and all war in Eve is motivational. Um, and you've been hearing, Imperium's out of money, haha, war bonds for like 2 months now, and that's not going to work. Like it hasn't worked. It's not going to work. It's going to have to be a morale win. So that's my take. Is I think that if you looked at the you ever look at those game stats, it's like, oh, this side has 89% chance to win with this much left in the game and this score. That indicator just moved a lot towards the Imperium.
Well, bad news for the Imperium, I guess, because I was scheduled to win my Final Fantasy game by like 60 to 70%, and then I ended up losing.
Which Final Fantasy?
Not Final Fantasy, I'm sorry,
Final
Fantasy
Fantasy
Football.
football.
I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant.
Yeah, there you go.
I came in last this season. I really didn't have a lot of time to like pay attention to fantasy football, and my league is actually pretty expensive to buy into. So I'm gonna have to bill someone in Pappy for that.
Do you think Pappy were energized by the original fight? Just being
I
able to
think
have a
that
big pap fight?
I think that yeah. Well, it's a two-edged sword, right? And for both sides, people have these sort of visions of these fights, and the actual like talking about it and thinking about it is more fun than than the delivery of the fight. So
Then undocking for an hour and a half.
yeah, so there's only so many of those. It's once again like dipping into the morale well, and if they had won decisively, then yeah, that would have been energizing. If they had lost decisively, it would have been de-energizing. I think that I'm sure that actually saw they were claiming wins. I would say that we won, but with it close, I think it's probably a net negative. Like each one is a bit of a net negative. And the reason I say that is because they're attacking, and you must keep up the impetus. And there's also just less reason as the attacker to keep going. When your home is invaded, there's no like nowhere to go, especially with the way we've set up. It's not like 2016 where we're sitting in a soda factory for months. So I think that would be I'd say it's a net negative, but I wouldn't say it was a big one. I wouldn't say it was a big one, but I would say that it was actually more positive for us than it was negative for them, if that makes sense.
I think
Yeah,
I'd agree.
it's funny that both sides viewed it. It was so weird to me. Like usually in these big fights, right, when you're on the losing side, you know you're losing a few hours in. You're like, oh shit, this is not good
Yeah,
for my guys. Up until the very end, it seemed like both sides were adamant that they were winning. It's such a bizarre type of thing because both sides could have pulled out almost at any moment.
yeah,
It would have been a little costly, but like they could have gone out. But both sides really felt like it. I think one of the cool things is, I'm sure you're jumping for joy. I saw Imperium pilots that hadn't logged in like 6 7 years in their Titans. I saw the same thing on the Pappy side. You're talking about
yeah.
some old pilots coming back because they want to get in on this.
Yeah, I mean, you had that. The cool thing was actually in that sort of unscripted fight where, the original fight on M2, that the the people came for that one. That was the cool part to me. Like I expected a lot of people I hadn't seen for a lot of time in this one, but the fact that they were there sort of on a moment's notice, it wasn't. I mean, I think we did one pre-ping from V for the M2 fight. And to the numbers we pulled, Titan wise and otherwise, we were within a much closer percentage of Pappy than we have been before. on no warning, no hype. So I should say no warning, small hype. So that was like a really heartening thing for my side, and I'm sure that there's like on the other side there's people who you haven't seen for a long time, and then there's this nostalgic feeling that you get to see them. Like it's like an old friend just popped by, and you're like, oh hey, I haven't seen you for so long, and it feels good.
Speaking of old friends, Cow Warriors in chat.
Whoa, so that is an old one.
It's always great getting your side. I absolutely a huge Asher fan. I like the review of the game. I think it's fun. Also, we're both fans of similar sports teams who don't do very well, but
Who
Listen,
do you
you can
guys
you can both smoke on my skirt any day. I'll take it.
who do you guys both like in sports that's not the winning team?
Probably some Midwestern team.
Western team. Why? No. Um, I am a Miami fan for most things. So, but we've Elise and I have talked sports sometimes before, and that's
Mhm.
actually somewhat rare in Eve players. There's a lot of people who are like, I don't like sports ball.
it does
um,
seem like there's a huge like the Venn diagram of
yeah.
football fans and Eve fans where they were separated for quite some time, but now they're pushing closer and closer together.
Dude, I gotta say, Asher, Meta Show, you're the funniest guy on there. I gotta say.
I appreciate that, but it's kind of a low bar, isn't it?
We had Boat on earlier. It was great.
I love boat. Boat is a fine wine. Um,
In this case, he was like an apple daiquiri or something. Moonshine going on.
no, he's like a fine wine in that I like to keep him in the basement. But one other thing that like interesting to note to give you guys an idea of how fast we were killing these titans. It's slowed down right now. The server is chugging to an incredible degree. Um, but I've been watching a rag go down structure for the last 20 minutes. Um, but at one point, I could not cycle my target painter on Titans. That's a 5-second cycle time, and there were 2 or 3 dying on the target painter cycle. So that means that we were killing multiple, per cycle, and it was. I mean, that's just an incredible pace. Elise sent me the screen cap of from the Phoenix trailer, and I've actually had a screen cap of that called smugasher.jpg saved, and I've been saving it for a certain moment, and I actually pinged it out about an hour ago. So I am feeling that way, Elise.
All right, so good job on this. Things went your way. The weather went your way, basically,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
it's still
space
your
weather.
victory.
You,
Yeah,
you, you take them. You take them. Like there's really the gamut of emotions. I'm actually probably the least excited person in the Imperium right now. Um,
I
that
don't
that
know.
that
We had
rag just went down.
Hippojax here. Okay, good. Finally, after 20 minutes, we had
Yeah, yeah.
Hippojax here. We had Boat, and neither one of them were super celebratory. And you seem very kind of reserved about it as well. I think you guys just have a different perspective on it.
Yeah, I think the more planning you do, the more you want to see. All right, 2 rags just popped right this second. The more planning you do, the more you want to see that in action. You're testing yourself against your opponents. Like when you saw on the Keepstar thing, right? Like where
Yeah.
we would, they would come out with the new strategy each time. We would come out with something new, and it was, and I know that their FCs were really enjoying that, and it's sort of a different level that you're experiencing than maybe.
FWST too was a classic escalation with surprises and yeah,
Mhm.
those
Yeah, I'll tell you a fact. I'm system blind. Like I have to look up every system when someone says. I know like 4 systems in Eve: Jita, Poitot, VFK, and 1DQ, and that's about it. I don't know any other systems in Eve. So
fights.
you said FWST, and I'm just assuming you're correct. I believe you.
Well, wherever the boson trap happened, that escalation, yeah.
Oh, actually, I think that was YZ9. I'm pretty sure that was where that was.
Oh, well, then I screwed you up. No wonder I threw you off. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that this certainly has sort of a karmic feel to it. But I felt really upset after that. Um, and but there is space weather. Like you have to deal with it. Like it's part of being in a game with 5,000 people. Um, And I was very upset after that. But it wasn't. I didn't feel screwed. You know what I mean? There's a difference there. Like it was like, I'm upset. I'm upset it happened, but there wasn't an element of malice to it. And I felt that way. I felt that there has been with in other times with CCP, and that's actually felt a lot worse. So, and this sort of has that sort of karmic feel where we were robbed there by the space weather, and they're getting robbed here by the space weather at the same time.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you. Yeah, I think everybody kind of feels the same way about it. It's a little bit deflating and stuff. You're still going to walk away with a pretty good victory. What do you think? Um, how how do you think this victory is going to end up? Is there any way to know right now?
Um, I mean, if you told me the war's over in 2 weeks, I wouldn't say you're a liar, right? But
It could go that way.
yeah, like I said, it's a possibility. We definitely did just move the ticker a bunch. They still have a super fleet trapped below a fully active keep star. Like that's the tactical situation, and it's going to be it's going to be a real pain to extract that, and they're not going to clean extract it either. Like there will be prices paid. As soon as this happened, by the way, this was like as soon as it became obvious that this thing wasn't going to work, people started logging in below the keep star. Like, and I just was imagining going, screw it, we're like they just started logging in and dying in their faxes and dreads. So I just sort of saw like a glimpse of psychology there. Like, well, all right, let's just get it over with.
Or try to get out while everybody's shooting other things or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Maybe that didn't work, but maybe that was the plan.
And it wouldn't have worked because those guys were in doomsday range, and doomsdays weren't
Yeah,
being used on this fleet coming in.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, our Titans have basically just sat there the whole time. They've got a few dreads and faxes to munch on, but otherwise they've been sitting there. But yeah, our Titans are at the bottom of the keep star. We were there hours and hours ago. We formed 6 hours before this timer, I think. So we've been sitting there very patiently, looking very pretty for many hours.
You
Um,
you guys
yeah,
were expecting to lose the keep star, right? That was the
yeah.
expectation.
There's essentially, I mean, this is the only way to save it. Like the server. That sounded whatever that was sounded really cute. Um, the server going down is the only way that Keepstar was going to live. And this is more or less what's happened, because if you have 10 Titans shooting it, it dies, right? And that's that. So I had no expectation at all of that Keepstar living.
We actually were speculating that you guys wouldn't show up for this timer because we thought that, it would be safer for you guys defensively to fight on a fully functional
It,
and a keep star that wouldn't explode, you know?
it would be, but I mean, it's been like what 5 months where we've stated what we're going to do, right? We're going to fight in Delve on Keepstars, and the very first Keepstar that was possible, that wasn't jammed, we did it. I mean, it was jammed, but we were able to slide in, and it gave them an advantage too, right? They had the jammer. But the very first one was possible, we did, and so it's very important to us to make it clear that what we've said, for 5 months was true. And there was a lot of like I read the Reddits. Like there was a lot of real delve goalpost moving stuff when our message has been clear the whole time. And the very first opportunity we had to do so, we did. So to me, it was very important that we do what we say we do. I put a lot of value in that, and there certainly was like a level of hey, we made them pay a huge price, and we got 48 others or whatever the number is, right? Like we don't have to show up for this, but to me it was very important that we actually do that.
Yeah, I think when Noel fell, right, the people started to herf blurf pretty hard because Noel was just like a keep set that went down more or less without a fight. You guys fought over the jammer,
Yeah,
but that really just goes to show like how or why the Pappy forces value this jammer so hard because of how much it can potentially change a fight. It can turn it from a pushover like Noel to a 200 Titan Bill in M2.
yeah. Um, and this is one of those shrouded in mystery things. Like I don't I have information that I believe is accurate, but it's like all other things. But I do believe that we were able to reship more Titans than they did between those two fights. So I think that we have the greater percentage of reship Titans. Now I think they had more than us overall. You saw like move offs come with 50 Titans moving down. But I think of the ones that we lost, we were able to reship, and I believe we can continue to do that. So, um, there is certainly this feeling amongst the goons then that hey, like if we trade, uh, kill 80 and lose 100, that's a win for us still because they will run out of Titans and run out of will before we do.
And this is the coolest part. This is why M2 happened, right? Because you guys are both operating on, like, I guess, imperfect
Incomplete, yeah,
information.
information,
Yeah.
yeah.
You guys, like, you think you guys have it in the bag. They think the same thing. Like, if we pull Villy back up here, he'll be like, oh, no, we reshipped more easy.
Yeah.
And it's so cool because that never happens in Eve. Like, that was why my mind was absolutely blown in M2, the first one, because you never have that moment where both sides are operating on that imperfect information, and they're both like so adamant and so like sure that they are the ones that are winning. They're getting exactly what they want out of it. So that was for me, that was like a once in a lifetime type fight. I don't know if that's ever going to happen again, but it's cool to hear it from your side. It's not just like me guessing or something like that. Like you guys actually do feel that way.
I think one of the really unsung and most interesting aspects of this war is it's a psychological one, and in ways like a societal, because I think that we're seeing, and now Pappy isn't a monolith, but there's sort of like generalities that are true for all of them, and we're seeing their side versus our side, and our side has always had a like the most generous SRP program. Imperium and has for a long time been paying out way more SRP, and on every ship. I know NC for a very long time paid it out on just Logi. I don't know if that's still the case, but it was true for a decade. Um, and we've always had the most generous SRP, and we've always invested a lot of our money back into our people. We did, Goon Hero of the Month, where we gave them a Titan for doing like good services. We did the FC tournament, which cost us 50 billion to run instead of doing it on CC, but it added more verisimilitude to do it, in real life and or whatever in the game real life, and pay for the ships. And when you see like a war bond program, you're seeing that investment in your social capital, a withdrawal on it. And whereas you look at, let's look at Tappy, where they don't share the TTC money with their coalition members. They give them a value, and I'm sure there is some value given there. I know that's like a meme, but I'm sure that they, we'll do this, we'll do that. But it has a sort of paternalistic trickle down. We know what's best for you feeling from it as an outsider. And so like the war bonds and the guy who has three Titans giving two of them out to his buddies or his courtmates or someone he doesn't even know as a replacement is, in my opinion, watching sort of the withdrawal of a lot of social capital that Goonswarm was invested for a better part of a decade. And I think that's going to be like none of that actually matters when you're piloting, a Cerberus, right? But it's as a person who's interested in psychology of human beings, I think that's actually going to be one of the more interesting studies after the war to see, what difference does that make, and is that sort of trickle down from the top style of leadership, or that spreading the love, I don't know exactly what you want to call it, style of leadership, which one was more effective, and can you draw a conclusion from that?
Yeah, I'm really a firm like when I was leading PL and even before that, like I followed a lot of Shadoo's advice was when he was doing that. Who cares about a big pile of money that does nothing? Invest it in your members, get them the cool ships. You mentioned like giving away ships. That's how I got my first Knicks. I won a little contest that was within PL, and this was like 8 years ago when having a Knicks was like a huge deal.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so cool. Like, oh, I was the best dictor for an entire month of August. So to reward me for being a dictor pilot who died all the time, they gave me a Nix. I was like, oh, I got a Nix now. And I was obviously a PL lifer after that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, that's like I got a Ragnarok in like 13. Ragnarok was still pretty sweet back then. But it was just like, FCs can't rat and make money like other people can. And they all did a group fundraiser, and I did really crappy MS Paint drawings as a reward to everyone who donated to the Titan Fund. So like, but that's the kind of bonding that like I think is really important for an alliance, and it's the reason that like against sort of many predictions some made on this channel like about crumbling and rotten pumpkins regarding goons, like it hasn't happened. And 6 months of war, we're still going strong. And I mean, I wish I could have bottled the feeling yesterday. Like I wish I could have. I wish you guys could have experienced it, because it's one of those things. I guess I'll have to do another sports analogy, but if you've been on a sports team, and had that sort of moment of elation, it's actually one of the only few times I've ever felt that, and certainly probably the only time I've ever felt that in a video game. It's
Sports ball.
yeah, there you go, there you go. But that's like the psychological aspect of it that I find makes Eve more interesting than any other game, because I play a lot of other games that are better at actually being a game, and but none of that exists, and I don't remember any stories from them. I've done a lot of like pretty decent level accomplishments in other games, and I don't have fond memories particularly, but
No,
Eve has that.
no joke. I actually shot with one arm, half court, last second shot to win the game at the buzzer.
So that feeling, like, did all the dudes like come and jump on you and like
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
yeah,
Totally got piled on and picked up. I actually got picked up and dragged off, and my name was chanted on the school bus and all that good stuff. But I get what that kind of
matter all. Yeah, so I mean
Taking it back.
that's it. Like that's why you play, right?
Mhm.
And um, you know, um, that's something that like I was saying yesterday. I just it was just a great feeling. It was just a warm feeling, and that's why I'm so interested in this game, and that's why I continue to stick around. I feel like I've done most of the things in this game that this game has to offer, and it's the one thing that really brings you back, and it really has no equal in other games.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what are you doing here, man? Like, why are you playing a video game? But that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
I
was
think
that
it's
is that for me in general or just
no,
like
no, 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 you personally, specifically.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We got a seat for you here when you want to hang up the boots and you
Yeah,
just
we
want to
want to
talk
retire.
about stuff.
oh yeah,
You can
I
just be a,
mean,
a, a sideline pundit.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
I I
really
I am a bit of a bloviator, and like no doubt about it. Like on my fleets, there's like we have like the no chatter room where it's like no one but the FC like it talks, like it can be heard for people who don't want to like listen to a bunch of stuff. It's worthless in my fleets, just absolutely worthless. So
The Imperium used to, or the goons used to use that to find spies, because whenever Boat would FC, all the spies would go into the no chatter room.
I believe it.
Yeah, so
I
that
believe
was
it.
that was their secret weapon. They just, if it seemed like a spy was on the fleet, they just purged everyone in the no chatter room.
I wish Boat would FC more. What a like he's truly like a savant at FCing.
I think Elise put it really well one time when he was saying that like the quintessential boat tangent or something like that. Like he just goes off on a story inside of a story inside of a story and somehow wraps that shit into like something relevant, and it's astounding.
I don't want to dox Boat, but he's educating our children, right? Like
Yeah, it's terrifying.
the future of the world is in Boat's hands.
How,
So
how does he tell the stories about Eve Online to his classmates, though?
I've asked him. I don't think he really talks about it too much. But he says that, but I somehow don't really believe it.
What if
He
he's
tells his
like
old war
this?
stories.
Yeah.
What if he's just a super composed, like really meek kind of guy when he teaches kids? Like, is that man?
No.
Gotta
No,
throw some
Boat
kids into that
Boat
school
would
with
have
that
been an
stuff.
awesome teacher. Like
Yeah.
it's actually like I would love to have Boat as a teacher. Like um I think he teaches like sixth grade, I think, which is like he's perfect for that. Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
I would love to have had him in sixth grade.
I just feel like he starts every day with like, guys, guess what I learned today?
Yeah.
putting on his captain's hat. Yeah,
Everything is a World War II analogy,
right. Usually the wrong one, but
but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. He's
Yeah.
just shaping young minds. We're
Well,
still
self
killing Titans. We're still killing Titans. Like I've watched Manny in this conversation. Manny's gone from 50% to 27% armor in this whole conversation. So
Manfred Sidious?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
Uh,
I
are
have
you
a
shooting
feeling that
them with
he's a real one, not a fake one. I think he's like a not a ghost ship because I think I saw him doomsday someone on his way down. I think he doomsday to Ragnar, not
oh,
Ragnarok,
Oh, no,
Revelation.
yeah, Revelation, right. He did. He actually wrote, somewhere, I don't have it, but he said something like, "My" let me find it. I'll get it for you.
Oh, but did you listen to that Grath talking to Redline release?
Oh,
I have not. I'm sure Graf is
Oh
very smart.
my god.
and his last words here as he's, shooting this, I keep wanting to say Redeemer, that's a Blops. Revelation, he says, "With my dying breath, F goons." Can't say it anymore.
yeah.
That's a classic Manny. Classic Manny. Able to kill something on the way down. Absolutely a goon.
There are some relations in this game that will never, uh, are
Mend.
set in stone. Yeah, they're just set in stone. They will never be changed, right? Like that is there. There's some people who are like, oh yeah, you switch sides. Like yeah, I want to try something new. And there's some people you just can't picture it.
You
So
know,
the beginning
I really thought that was the story for Graf for a long time too. I would have never
Y-
really seen him kind of like move over.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but he is like an iconoclast, right? Like he really he doesn't like to go with the crowd, and that's actually been a weird thing. Like, you have Israd in the Imperium, right? You have Grath. Like, there's a lot of people who have come over, and it's mostly the people or corporations who are sort of iconoclastic. Like, they are view themselves as the underdog. They empathize with the underdog. And that's not been a position that people have viewed the Imperium as being in often in the at least since the Casino War. So but you got a lot of people doing that.
Yeah, I was gonna say like we had like our most influential groups, and I picked Israd for the year not because of like Israd doing what they do. Obviously, they kill super caps; they're great at it. But it's kind of like what it represented, right? In World War B1, you guys like the Imperium were like kind of losing allies. It seemed like by the day. And then for a while there, you were just gaining allies by the day. It's like such a night and day difference between like the
Yeah,
different conflicts.
you've got red Titans like on this Keep Star ready to fight, right? Like and they came over at probably I would say what people publicly viewed like as the lowest point of the war, right? And then I will say one thing about the Casino War is that we had no corporations leave Goonswarm, not one. Um, Now, but there were a lot of CFC members who either during or after made their their exit. So yeah, that's been that was, but it's something that I'm immensely proud of. Like that in these kind of wars that we don't see these people head for the exits. That is something that I think is affirming that you're doing something right. And you don't have to be a corporation or a person for everyone. um, I would much rather have a car that I really like, and that some people really hate than something, and that but it inspires you rather than sort of a boring thing that gets you from point A to point B. And there's enough people who really like us, that they want to stay with us, they want to stay with us in good times and bad, and that is inspiring to me.
Well, I gotta say though, here's some pushback.
Sure.
Your public image from the Meta Show on down, usually dictated by the Mittani, not you necessarily, pushes people away. Like you were saying, there's some people who never join goons and stuff. Do you think that does damage to you, or is it part of a plan to reel people in to fight? Like, what's going on with the metagame
Well, let me
insofar
let
as
me push back your pushback. You have a little personal enmity with Mittens, right? Like that's not you wouldn't have the most cordial relationship in the world. So
actually don't have a personal problem with Matani. He may have a personal problem with me, but it's not the other way around.
I don't think he has any like particular dislike of you.
I
But
don't think he does.
I wouldn't speak for him.
No, I don't think he does, and I don't for him.
No, I think it's just exactly what I said. Like, you can be the Toyota Camry of alliances, and those exist. Those are they get you from point A to point B, and they have an SRP program, and they'll buy your minerals at 93%, and that's their selling points, right? Like, and in my estimation, those are also the ones that crumble. Like, those are the ones that fail because they have nothing that binds them together, and to have that sort of you know feeling of camaraderie, you have to have something to rally around. And like, I find Mitten sticks sometimes shtick, sometimes personally odious. Like, he just goes over the top, and I just
Yeah.
like roll my eyes. But like, I also know it's a shtick.
You're
Like,
the one that coined the term. You guys sound like wrestlers, and I was cracking up when you said that, because I was like, "Yeah, that's what it was." I couldn't put my finger on it, but
yeah, like, but you know, he's a guy who has an incredible passion for leadership, and um, like, he has a real strong emotional connection to the game, and he the way he comports himself inspires other people to be connected. And when we're talking about something that is literally pixels on a server, that's actually something rare. What a great leader in this game does. And it's the reason why we have this glue that keeps us together. So is it a bug or a feature? It's 100% a feature. It's a feature. Like, you don't have a group that sticks together like this, um, you know, uh, because of it. And I have this feeling, Matterall. I don't know you very well. I do like to armchair psychologize. That's what
Mhm.
the proper word. But that you don't like people who rock the boat. Like, you don't. You value harmony to a degree, certainly more than Mittens does, but maybe even more than average.
I value courtesy more than anything
You
else.
value what?
Yeah, I value courtesy, but I will point this out.
See?
In our chat here, we had Villy on just a few minutes ago, and I
Mhm.
couldn't believe how much garbage is being thrown his way, right? I had to mute people, I had to moderate and basically say, "Stop harassing the guests, stop harassing the guests, stop harassing the guests."
I mean,
You come on, you
yeah.
come on, none of that,
He
and we have 3,000 people watching.
I haven't said I'm out to exterminate any alliance or drive them from the game. Like, I think that right
That's
there.
true.
Speaking of odious, right? That is actually truly, like, as much as you can be evil in a video game, being the villain, embracing villainy, right? And so it's no surprise that people react to that like that way. Like, people hate Voldemort, right? Like, it's they hiss when he comes around, and this is a guy who has like publicly declared that he's on that side.
Right. Well, I
And
equate
so,
that though with the kind of stuff that Mittani does too. So maybe if Mittani was on, he would have gotten the same kind of treatment. To be
oh,
fair,
Mittens, yeah, Mittens, he gets the treatment on his own channel, right? Like, it's yeah, but like, to Billy's credit, like, he has a bunch of people who are like, yes, that is right. We need to remove this cancer that is Imperium from the game. And obviously, I don't believe that we're the cancer. Like, I think we're the cure, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that people believe you and want to follow you, and they do. Like, he has thousands of people in test who like love what he does, right? And think he's like the greatest thing since sliced bread. So that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. It just matters that people believe you, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, I will say for Billy, for all the shit he gets, he transformed Test into a powerhouse, right? Like, and I don't. It's hard to put it down to one person, but it's absolutely one person. I don't want to
Yeah.
take it away from anyone else, but Test before Billy and then Test after Billy are two completely different entities.
Well, I mean, you look at like, I mean, I 100% agree with you. I think that's spot on,
I
and
also I don't want to interrupt you, but I think you absolutely transformed the Imperium as well, right? You took over from living legends and sort of reinvented at least part of the Imperium in your own image, in a sense. In a sense, obviously the Mittani is
what
still there. There's other FCs and stuff, but
is it a
uh,
working man's alliance now, kind of thing, or
I think you did change whether or not people view it or not. I think you absolutely changed the way the Imperium operates for from where I'm standing for the better.
I believe if you ask more people, they'll give you more, and I think that for a long time we had like a fear of that because it was too associated with like being elite PvP snobs, and and I just didn't equate those. I don't think being good at something is being snobbish. I think it represents mastery, and so a lot of like what I've done, I think, and I think Mittens talked about this like 3 times this week, is just that ask more, get more, and it took me a long time to get people on board with that idea, um, but uh, but eventually, I think Manny just died, by the way. Eventually, you get there, and it's like Goon Swarm like was afraid of cap chaining like 5 years ago, and I sort of marvel at it. Like we went from being afraid of cap chaining to like really effectively applying Evor amongst an enemy fleet. And our FCs are like really, really, really good at, and I believe we developed good FCs. And I think the way that you can see that is if you look throughout the game at other alliances, you'll see lots and lots of Goon FCs who have like come through our training program, were identified and learned here, and then went on to do great things elsewhere. And I think that speaks really well of our development team and of what we expect from people. I don't ever view that as like a failure if an FC goes somewhere else because there's only so many slots, right? And those guys are making like a name for themselves, in trigger happy, um, all over the place. You've got FCs from Goons doing great things, or who were in Goons, I should say. And I'll say that one thing about Villy is I think one of his greatest assets is sort of getting the best out of PGL. Like that's a real good skill, and I think that like a like a great coach is helped by an offensive coordinator. I feel like that's sort of one of those situations where Billy has made PGL into like the best possible version of himself, and that's probably one particularly good thing about.
All right, cool. Well, we have. Please stick around. I'm going to bring Brisk up here. You know him from your meta show. I'll drag him up in just a second.
Yeah, for on screen at the moment, we have one of the latest pictures from Razorian. Truly beautiful
Oh.
picture.